Welcome into the BBOC tailgate. We bet college football player props. I'm Tim Kalinowski, joined by Mike Calabrese. Look, we're 21-17-1 on the year. Hand up. I'm cold as ice. Calabrese, you texted me a couple weeks ago. You texted me kind of cryptically, and you said, "Hey, do you have a minute to talk?" And I thought you were firing me. You weren't. I haven't won a bet since. You actually wanted to talk about something else. Turns out you probably should have fired me with the way this is going. So I got to pick up my end of the deal here. I was 0-2, you were 2-1, but back to the well we go for week 10. Thank you for instilling the faith in me. I threw like 5 interceptions. You said that's still our quarterback.
Sometimes, you just gotta get up, on back onto the horse and deal with a little bit of scrutiny, a little bit of pressure. Sometimes that sharpens the mind, gets you in a better headspace. How about this for a sharp play to get things started? Drew Allar under 226.5 passing yards at Maryland. This number keeps bubbling up, and I don't exactly know why, because he's had 7 straight starts in which he's gone under this number. Last week against Indiana, he had 142 passing yards with under 3 minutes to go. He gets 68 on the final drive to finish with 210, still comfortably under this number. And a shout out to NBC Sports' Eric Froden. He dropped this little nugget, and as soon as I saw it, I had a race to DraftKings and FanDuel and see where it was in the market. His ADOT, which is average distance per throw, is just 7.5 yards. Of the quarterbacks who are eligible of throwing at least 200 pass attempts in 2023, he's 83rd out of 92 quarterbacks. So he's dinking and dunking all the way down the field, and he's up against a Maryland defense that isn't great, but the one thing that they do really well is they limit explosive plays. They're 37th nationally in limiting passing explosives, and they've only given up in terms of plays of 20 yards or more, they're 42nd in the country. So you don't even get more than 2 or 3 in a game against the Terps. And that's with teams trying to push the ball downfield. So with Mike Yurcich and this Penn State offense, they're going to run the ball. They're going to have these underneath throws. They're going to try to get into third and manageables. They're not going to test the Terps downfield. So 226.5, I think, is a gift. I think this one's off by about 14, let's call it 15 yards. So I'd play it down into the mid 200 and teens.
You didn't need to say any of that. All you needed to say was, did anyone watch the Ohio State Penn State game? That's all you needed to say. No interest in pushing down the ball down the field, and Kenny pushed the ball down the field. I think all of us are wondering that. I'm not worried about pushing the ball down the field, but my first prop, because I'm worried about rushing. Jaxson Dart, Ole Miss quarterback, under 27.5 rushing yards. So I'll be honest. I looked at this number, and yeah, I'm one of those people that likes the quarterback overs. I love the rush of avoiding the sack yards and looking for him to just break that one. You only need one breakaway rush to cash it, right? Well, so I look at Jaxson Dart and I say, how does Texas A&M do against? How have they done against quarterbacks this year? Listen to this. Listen to this, Calabrese. Spencer Rattler, 6 rushes, -40. Jalen Milroe, 8 rushes, -31 yards. KJ Jefferson, 18 rushes, -3 yards. Auburn, their trio of quarterbacks, 14 rush attempts, -14 yards. Tyler Van Dyke, 2 rushes, -12 yards. Everybody that plays this Texas A&M defense goes backwards. They're second in the nation, or in Power 5 in sacks. They got 33. This Texas A&M defense, they create havoc. They get after the quarterback. And look, I played 2 overs last week. I'm playing an under. Also, too, this Ole Miss offensive line, they don't do a great job of protecting the quarterback. So I expect a couple big-time sacks, and that puts us in the negatives. And then from there, hope and pray.
I love that one. It's getting us back to our roots. I think we started the season with a Graham Mertz under, and he went under by about 30 yards, falling back into the negative. So going back to the well, I like that a lot. I'm actually going to go in the opposite direction here. Ollie Gordon II, over 117.5 rushing yards in the Bedlam game against Oklahoma. In the past 5 games, this guy has been the best running back in the entire country. He's averaging 195.6 yards per game in his last 5, scored 9 total touchdowns, and fumbled just once. So the Pokes are absolutely tied to his performance. He's going to get at least 20, probably 25 carries in this game against an Oklahoma defense that gives up huge chunk runs on the ground, 105th in explosives on the ground allowed. And when you look at what Gordon does, in his last 5 games, he's got runs of 75 yards, 71, 53, and 42. He pops the home run play, and you could get almost half of this total in one run. So the fact is, it opened in the market at about 123. It's been bet down to 117.5. This is the time to pounce on it. Because as I mentioned, not only does Oklahoma give up the big runs, but look what Kansas was able to do, 225 rushing yards. Now, they had kind of a running back by committee, so they're splitting that up. If you're looking for what a lead back did, RJ Harvey from UCF cracked the century mark against the Sooners. I think this is a defense that is just leaking oil. They look tired. And in the Bedlam game, I just love an opportunity to ride a hot hand. No one's hotter in the entire country than Gordon II. So I'm going to go with him over this number.
Calabrese, triple digits, not afraid. I love it. And the last Bedlam in a long, long time. I'm going to be happy to have some action on it because I'm a little nervous taking a side here because it's probably going to be chaos, but you can probably count on that. How about, I'm going to stay in the Big 12, tight end for Baylor, Drake Dabney, over 29.5 receiving yards. Now, who is he? What does this matter? I'm talking about playing Baylor tight ends here. Listen, they're playing Houston. Dreadful defense, dreadful pass defense, especially. And where I get at this number is that two of Baylor's best wide receivers are going to be out for this game. Keytron Jaxson, he's out. Hal Presley, he's out. Jackson's actually doubtful, but doesn't seem like he's going to play the way I dug into the Baylor message boards this week. And look, Dabney is the guy that's going to be the one to step in and take these receptions. So 29.5, we only need a couple receptions. And also Houston can't tackle. Dabney, he's 6'5", 248, big time senior tight end. Good luck dragging him down. Again, only takes a couple receptions. Probably like it up to about 35 or so. So 35.5, I'll call it.
I like that one. All right, I'm going to throw this last one out here. I won't tip my hand which way I'm going just yet. Luther Burden III for Mizzou, their star slot receiver. His number is sitting at 88.5 in the market playing at Georgia. And it makes sense because he's averaged 7.5 receptions, 113 yards per game, scored 6 touchdowns, but he's been targeted a dizzying 87 times in 8 games. But I'm still going under on him. And it's pretty simple. The Bulldogs are 11th in success rate against the pass, 21st in limiting aerial explosives. And between Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp, Glenn Schumann, this whole staff has so much defensive know-how. They're going to find a way to take him off the field, or at least out of the game plan, in terms of hitting big plays. And when it comes to Eli Drinkwitz, I think the chess match within the game here, once it's more difficult to get him involved in the passing game, they're going to get involved in jet sweeps, and they're going to maybe use him as a wildcat quarterback. And certainly he's there in the return game, returning punts as well. So he's not going to disappear from this game, but as a pure wide receiver, this number is very high against what I believe will be a motivated Georgia team. You saw how hard they played against Florida last week. And the fact of the matter is Mizzou sneaking into the top 15, I think that has alarm bells for Georgia and their staff. A lot of this, Nick Saban coach speak that's filtered down to Kirby Smart. He's talking about rat poison this week. Don't, read your press clippings. Finally, he has a top 15 team to say, we need to focus in, prove to the nation that, we are clearly the best team as we are on our march for the 3rd straight national title. I think you're going to get an inspired effort from a Georgia defense. And this is just a very high number. I could see him catching, 6 or 7 balls for 50 yards and still be impactful. But for him to go close to 100 yards, I just don't see it in the cards here.
Yeah, say keep everything in front for this Georgia defense. Also, too, you forgot to mention Georgia being number 2. That helps with the whole rat poison thing. You think you got a little motivation if you're Georgia on that side. Also, too, I got to ask you, Georgia, I want to claim this as part of my pick too from last week because, help me out. I was going to give it as well if you didn't give it, but Lab McConkey's over. It was in the 20s last week. He went over it by about 1 billion. This week, he's 56.5 receiving yards I'm seeing. I might still play that again. I don't know if that's high enough. Right? He's been there. He's the option right now.
As I mentioned last week, with him being injured early in the season and dealing with that back injury and slowly being worked back in, I think people forgot what he is in this offense. He's not this underneath Wes Welker short pass kind of guy. He's their big play wide receiver. He wants to, eat up the middle of the field, those crossing routes, being able to kind of slice and dice the defense. So just like last week, he's going to hit multiple pass opportunities in that 20 to 30 yard range. So you could see it fall with 2 or 3 catches. So I agree. I still think he's underpriced in the market. What'd you say? Is that 58? I think that's still an over.
56.5. Yeah. That might be a look for me again. So McConkey, maybe he's my new Jaden McGowan. They can't make it high enough for me, but looking forward to it. Calabrese, some great games this weekend. I remember Brett McMurphy said earlier this week that Georgia's like an NFL team. They get the attention when it's a good team comes in, it gets their attention. So I'm looking forward to that game and all the games that we mentioned throughout these player props that we gave out here in week 10. I got to do my part. I'm on the hot seat. I'm hoping not to get fired, hoping not my key card doesn't work on Monday morning. So from Mike Calabrese, I'm Tim Kalinowski. That's BBOC Tailgate. Good luck betting in week 10.